Hey kids, this is Mark Arm from Mudhoney.
I'm Kevin Martin from Cannabis.
This is Nicole Alvarez from the world famous K-Rock.
Hi, I'm Dave Cruzen.
I am Matt Vaughn from Easy Street Records.
This is Richard Stuverud.
Hey, I'm James Joseph from James and the Cold Gun.
This is Jeremy Toback from the band Brad.
And this is the State of Love and Trust.
State of Love and Trust.
State of Love and Trust.
A Pearl Jam podcast.
Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. Feed that algorithm.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the State of Love and Trust. It's a Pearl Jam podcast, and I'm one of your two hosts, Jason Kerepesi. And alongside me, as always, is
Paul Ghiglieri.
You've got the pen of power and the pad of power, it looks like.
Yeah. Jotting down some last-minute thoughts for this very visual episode that we're going to cover. We're going to cover some, some TV performances. What do you say?
Hey, what do you say? This is a topic, an idea that has been around in our minds, in our shared note of possible shows for 4.5 years. And I will tell you, Paul, I have been waiting and waiting for Pearl Jam to play another TV performance to make it more topical, and they just refuse to do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean...
I don't count Howard Stern's show, if you're wondering out there.
That's... A lot of folks would think that, you know what I mean? It's tough because you could count what Eddie just did on SNL, right? Mm-hmm. But we're trying to view this within the context of the whole band, right? So we have very narrow guidelines here. So... That does kind of limit us. I don't know. Limits
us a little bit. And we'll get into some of those guidelines in a minute. Before we get into that, though, happy March. Lousy smarch weather. I have to get in the Simpsons reference every single show. The Ides of March.
The Ides of March.
So, if you are watching here on YouTube or on Spotify, as I said last week, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications. And if you are listening to these dulcet tones... Are they dulcet, Paul?
I guess that's up for debate. But if you feel that way, you should rate, review, and subscribe on your preferred podcast platform of choice. Feed that algorithm on the Ides of March.
Yeah. That would be great. I am drinking out of a cup here, a mug.
Oh, yeah, look at us. Look at us.
Hey, just,
Look at us. Who would have thought, huh? Not me.
I tell you what. I'm not sure which reference is more used on this show. Parker Lewis Can't Lose, or Paul Rudd from, was it Hot Ones? What was he on that he did that?
What it's Hot Ones.
Jesus Christ. We've got a shop, and that's the way that we make this show happen. So if you buy merch, if you buy a shirt or, a hoodie, I got one behind me, or a mug or something else, that helps keep this show alive, as does our Patreon. Our members are fantastic. They help keep this thing alive. And each month, to say thank you, if I could speak correctly, the adult juice in the mug here is already having its effect. If you are a patron, we give away things each month just to say thank you. So it's a random drawing. Although it's weighted based on which tier you're in there. That's a little nugget there. This month, Paul, the Patreon giveaway is...
Is it an opportunity to... Oh, boy. Is that a leash?
That is a dog leash, my friend. Pearl Jam, get out of my fucking face. There it is. Little dog leash for your pooch. This is mine. Compliments of Peter Sprules and Brandy from Modesto. You can't have this one, but you can have this one. So that is the Patreon giveaway.
In the package. I love it.
I'm not going to take it out.
Whether you have a dog or not, is one that's a keeper.
It could be used on other mammals. We don't judge Paul. People can be as frisky as they want to be.
We are not going down the rabbit hole of trying to figure out what our patrons might do with the leash in the absence of a dog. We're not.
There are no State of Love and Trust collars, if you will. Okay. Although that could be an item soon. Who knows? Anywho, More importantly than all that business is our monthly fundraisers. It is March. It is a new month, and this month we are raising funds for a nonprofit that does a lot of good work for a couple of diseases that are near and dear to our favorite lead guitarist's heart, and that is Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. Yes. They fund research to find ways for people suffering with IBD issues and offer solutions to live better lives. Ultimately, they want to cure these two things, Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. So scan that QR code on your screen as you enjoy the beautiful B-roll. Or if you're in our Instagram, just tap on the little link in there or in the description below in the YouTube or wherever you're listening. Tap on that. Donate a few bucks. Paul is ready to fire those stickers, I assume. I don't know. These are the stickers you would get if you in the pin.
They look like these. They just come out of nowhere. I don't know how this happens.
I don't know why it's always funny to me. It's always funny to me. Every damn time. We've beat this horse so many times now. But you would get those stickers and pins if you donate $5 or more. And you know what? If you are the greatest donator, if you donate the most money to Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, you know what you're getting, Paul? You have no idea.
Are you getting vinyl?
Yes, you are.
Oh boy!
Outstanding.
Would you
look at this? That is Pearl Jam on Saturday Night Live in 1992. The TV broadcast audio on 45.
How awesome is that?
You know where I got this, Paul?
Let me guess. Is that compliments of Easy Street Records?
Yes. We got this at Easy Street Records in Seattle, Washington, West Seattle to be exact. So this could be yours if you donate the most money to Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. There you go. How
Outstanding.
Fun. It's funny that this is
I'm
the
jealous
item,
that I'm not eligible.
Yeah, well, tough shit.
Indeed.
The fact that we're doing this here with the SNL performances, what? Is that an illusion? Yes, it is.
Oh, boy.
Paul, you mentioned it. We are talking TV appearances, and this band has performed on many TV shows, taped, live to tape, and across the years since 92.
Yeah, there are some guardrails here to this exercise.
Absolutely.
Yes. All right.
The guardrails, let me scroll down to my guardrails here. The guardrails, as you mentioned before, no Ed Solo stuff. So,
no Ed Solo stuff.
You can't have him be like, oh, when he walked out and sang Black to Dave Letterman in 96. No, doesn't count. Great moment, doesn't count. Ed by himself on, you mentioned SNL's 50th. That doesn't count either. It's got to be full band only. The appearances on the show are that's the pick. It's not like, oh, well, I think Porch from 92 SNL, but then also Alive from, no, they're the same thing. Alive and Porch, that's the choice, right? And that goes on for all the other. Yeah, it's just the total performance, not the individual songs.
Got it.
And then also we are excluding the 2006 Letterman post-broadcast 10-song streaming concert. That is not eligible for this. And I will say, I think we can all agree that the MTV Unplugged that aired in May of 92 is the greatest damn thing to ever be seen on television. Therefore, it is the number one. So we're going to go ahead and just say that's that. And what's the next?
Exactly. These are the runner-ups.
Exactly. The bridesmaids, if you will.
And you can have up to 5 bridesmaids right there on the
How many did you have in your wedding?
Bridesmaids? Well,
that's right. Not you, the wife.
There were
obviously.
4, I think.
4.
'Twas many moons ago, Jason.
'Twas. I think we had 5. But I think there was an odd number. I think we didn't have the equal number. Like it was one off.
Yeah,
what a bummer that is.
I know. I was at your wedding.
You were.
I know. Yeah, I officiated your wedding.
You sure did. I think you snuck in a present tense reference as well.
Oh, I sure did. I absolutely did.
Anyway, let's talk about these bad boys. You know what? Actually, I've compiled a fabulous supercut of what it means to be Pearl Jam on television.
Ooh.
Our next guests are here to blow the roof off the dump.
One of the greatest rock bands in the world.
And I can't tell you how happy we are to have them here tonight.
Can there be a better way of starting the show? I think not.
We love them. Please welcome Pearl Jam.
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 All right, that was lovely.
Are you kidding?
I love that.
Outstanding. Yeah.
Little mashup, you know?
It was great.
So, let's get into it, man. We got 5 here. The top 5, excluding MTV Unplugged, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to begin?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
I mean, is there a particular order to these, or we're just doing 5? How do you
I ordered them 5 to 1
Okay,
because I'm a fancy boy.
I could do that.
Okay.
I can do that. All right, so I'm going to start at number 5, 2006, Worldwide Suicide, Severed Hand, Alive, live at Jules Holland. Yeah, I first of all, Severed Hand live is just, it's one of those underrated, unheralded, like must-have at a Pearl Jam show type of songs.
It's so good.
And it isn't until you're at a Pearl Jam show and you get that song, you're like, man, that song rips live. Yes, it does. So to give that on the screen, I think was important. Worldwide Suicide, obviously, the defining song from that record. And you can't have Pearl Jam on TV without Alive. And I think what's unique about this show was that they released Avocado, but it wasn't called Avocado. It was a self-titled album. So in many ways, I think the band was trying to redefine itself after a string of pretty dark records with Binaural and Riot Act. And I think they were searching in a lot of ways for new footing. And a performance like this was a way to kind of communicate to European audiences, or really worldwide audiences, that they had found that footing. And so Alive kind of anchored the show and the viewing experience into what we love about Pearl Jam and what we remember so fondly. And then these 2 songs just did a marvelous job of kind of announcing a return, if you will, to form, and I hate that phrase.
So he uses it.
So I use it, yeah. But this particular performance, they just did a fantastic job of taking just 2, pounding songs off the record that play so well live. If you had to pick 2 songs off that record to do live, I mean, these would be the 2, I think, if you wanted to couple them with live. And it's just it's a perfect trifecta abroad of what listening to Pearl Jam would be like moving forward. And I think it was a great opportunity for audiences who maybe had tuned out or who had, taken a detour for a couple of records, for them to kind of rediscover the band. And these 2 performances just do a fantastic job. There's intensity in these performances. I find that, we see reflections of their younger selves. They're playing in sync. Matt's sleeveless. I mean, you know what I mean? It's almost like they turn back the clock in a lot of ways. So I just think it's a fantastic performance. It's definitely top 5 for me.
I wonder if it was they were energized, because I believe this was a couple days after that Letterman show, and this is Jules Holland is I believe it's a Dutch show, and so they were in the Netherlands, and the way that the stage is situated, like they're kind of surrounded by the audience, like they're up against the wall, and the audience is to the side and around them.
Yeah, I mean, some of their best stuff was like out in the Netherlands in the 90s. You know what I mean?
Utrecht, Den Haag.
90s. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's just this was perfect, kind of like full circle comeback.
Landgraf. Is that Denmark? Or Netherlands? That's Netherlands. Woo! Some of those countries up there, I forget. Anyway, my 5th choice It is stateside. In fact, it is super close to home, Paul. It is the 2008 VH1 Rock Honors featuring the boys playing Love Reign Over Me and The Real Me honoring The Who. I would argue my favorite live era of the band is that in and around Avocado. So you're talking 2006 to 2008. Okay. I love that era. I think they knew who they were. They knew they didn't need to prove anything to anybody. I think their chops were finely tuned at this point. They were still young enough to kind of bring energy when the songs required it. And the way that the band honored The Who in Westwood that night in 2008, I think it was just something else. I mean, Love Reign Over Me and The Real Me, they were performed as well as one could. It helps that there was a symphony there for the former, right? I think Ed's screaming alone was worth the price of admission, but everyone excelled in that moment. They were tight and loose at the same time, if that makes any sense at all. And I think culminating with Mike tossing his Les Paul up in the air, and then it just smashes down on the stage into a couple of different pieces. And he picks it up and he's like, oh, I guess it's broken, and just kind of drops it again. Like, that was a pure rock show.
It was.
Like, if you were one of these fans that questioned if Pearl Jam had lost it, to your point, years ago, I think this was the moment to be proven wrong. If it wasn't Jules Holland, this is a couple years later. But like, I just felt that there's a ferocity in the room. Maybe it was the fact that they didn't have the pressure of, I mean, this is funny to say, they didn't have the pressure of playing their songs. They got to play somebody else's.
Yeah, I was curious how that factored into the calculus for you.
But there was just an absolute joy and precision to the playing it was palpable. I remember watching it live. I had just moved here maybe like 16 months prior. And I was like, oh, cool. They're doing a show right down the road. I couldn't get in tickets, but I watched it on TV and I'm like, holy Jesus. Like, these guys are bringing it. So maybe it's a weird choice, but 2008 VH1 Rock Honors. I know. Who would have thought?
Well, a solid choice. Yeah. I think there was I was reticent to go in that direction because it wasn't one of their songs. And although I thought the performance was epic, there was something about watching them play someone else's music that made me feel like, okay, like, you're never going to go to a cover band show and see something like this. You know what I mean? Like, this is just an epic band performing epic songs, and it doesn't matter who wrote them. So I get you on that.
It was a
one,
moment, it was
a moment.
You could see them play their songs at any time, but you may not go to a show where they play either one of these songs. And now, especially, they're just not really played at all.
Well, not with a symphony either. And I think when they know this is what we're going to perform and that's it, like you said, there's no pressure, like you said, to have to perform their own song and deliver it on any sort of expectations. They get to go and live vicariously through the Who's music and pay homage. And I think it's a great call.
Yes. Okay. I don't know why I'm cheering for myself or for you for complimenting me, but there we go. Okay, so number 4, where are you going now?
2010, and we're gonna do Just Breathe and Unthought Known on SNL.
Ooh.
And the reason I picked this is because these two songs are so introspective. There's both performances are full of melody. The band is dialed in. The strings really amplify the performance, and they augment the composition in a way that really elevates, I think, Pearl Jam's growth for a national audience. And those two songs in particular are absolutely perfect for like a theater setting, which is where they're at. You know what I mean? And the reverb that you get with Ed delivering that great line, Gems.
The vocal effects on him.
Oh, dude, it's wild. Yeah, the volume, the body. It was like a rare vintage for Unthought Known. It really was full bodied. It's just a fantastic show. Oh, no, show. Sorry, a set of songs performed live on TV. So for me, I think it was it was a uniquely different way to experience Pearl Jam, but a way that highlighted both the subtlety of their music and the poignant nuance and beauty of what they could do live with a song like Just Breathe with the string accompaniment. And you couple that with this like soaring cathartic performance of unthought known. So I think if you, like I said, if you were tuning in and you had this preconceived notion of what you were going to get from this band, they just completely flipped it on its head, and not in like a Dance of the Clairvoyants way. I mean, this was still just organic, rootsy, just great rock. But there was this impassioned performance in a way that I think there was an unfamiliarity to watching these songs, but there was also comfort in it as well. So I think it's definitely an all-time performance on TV for me.
It's interesting that two of these first three choices have strings involved.
Mm-hmm. No doubt, right?
Very
Wouldn't
cool.
it be great
Very
if
cool.
they
did a symphony show?
Yeah, we've talked about that for forever.
My God. Yeah, we did the pick. What was it? I don't know how many songs we picked. Maybe 10 to play with the symphony. Probably 3 or 4 years ago now. It's been forever. Maybe we'll have to update that since we have another album.
Well, in the meantime, we've got Black Circle to keep us company.
We do. My goodness, that clip of Nothing Man that was on our
outstanding.
Self Pollution Radio show at the beginning of the year. Holy Jesus! Talk about bringing the goods. Okay.
Yeah.
So number 4 for me, we are going way back to the 1992 VMAs and the performance of Jeremy.
Oh boy.
I would say that intense is an understatement. You're showing the casual music crowd, you're showing America on maybe like their third mainstream performance, mainstream media performance, what it means to be at a Pearl Jam concert, like what they're capable of. 92 SNL, I would argue, their true selves weren't quite sure how to navigate like this sheen of a SNL spot. Those are bright lights. And Unplugged, it was released the following month in May of 92, as I said, but taped the prior month in March. VMAs were in September. So this is months later. They had the whole Lollapalooza tour basically over. They were a couple days away from the singles party, which we talked about a long time ago. At this point, you could feel the switch happening, right? They were taking ownership of their destinies here. And at the very end, Ed sings a little tag over Jeff's bass that I don't think I've ever heard him do since then or before. Maybe it's my naivete. Maybe somebody out there is like a super fan, has heard every single version of the song. Is like, no, over there in Copenhagen. I don't know. But I never heard him say this. He sings, "I don't need love. I don't need mom and dad" at the end of Jeremy. And I was like, oh my God. And he just kind of sinks into the stage and it's like just full Eddie. I got the music video vibes. Like I'm getting goosebumps right now. Like what a powerful coda for that song. And in that moment to a crowd that was like, what am I watching right now? So it was so powerful. Because I don't think a lot of people recognized that song yet because the music video had just started taking off maybe like a month prior. So it was like a real, like a reintroduction. If you were like, oh yeah, I think I know that band. They did that Unplugged thing. Yeah. Well, here's the plugged in version.
That's a great call. Great call. I'm going to go with the 1993 MTV Music Awards. They play Animal. They play Rockin' in the Free World. I think to perform with Neil in that setting in front of that crowd is just something that they lived for. It really was. When you think about they're playing in front of an audience that I don't think they want to be playing in front of. There's just something about award shows and like the music scene and all that kind of stuff. And I think at this point in time, it's like we're going to bring this like old school legend out here, and we're going to let you know what's up. Like this is what you should all be listening to. You know what I mean? And so, they just crushed it, I mean, Animal, I think, was that big stage performance that redefined the band for anybody who might have been hesitant or got, hesitant to get burned by that supernova that was Ten's anthemic sound. And it's really like that 5 Against 1 statement song. And it's being made on MTV for an album with this song that would never get a video at the MTV Video Music Awards. So, yeah. I think it's such a statement performance in a lot of ways. It's kind of like a Southern backhanded compliment, in very Pearl Jam-y way. Anyway, so it's that performance has always kind of like stuck out to me as one of those moments where Pearl Jam used their platform and a national audience to make a statement. They really did. Yeah. And not like in I'm going to write something on my arm or I'm going to, do a headstand on a stool. I think it was more about who we play with and the music we play for you. This is our way of letting you know whose terms this is going to be on. And I think they did a really good job of that there.
I agree with that sentiment. That was very good. What a performance. My third choice, moving a little bit further into the timeline here, we're going to Letterman, 2004, performing Masters of War. So another cover, funnily enough.
We have not had any overlaps yet, by the way.
I know. I'm very excited by that. Very cool. I would say that this performance of Masters of War, which I've played a number of times, is my favorite rendition of the song from them.
Well, that would explain why this is top 5 for you.
I think the quiet theater kind of makes every note ring that much louder. You talked about SNL being a smaller soundstage, and so a quieter song is really going to be more pronounced, I think. You can really feel the dynamics of a song like that.
Why do you think they picked that song for that show in that year?
Well, it was part of the Vote for Change tour promotion, and it was, I guess, music for inspired for Fahrenheit 9/11. So I'm guessing that was their contribution. They were asked to contribute a song, and I'm guessing that's what they decided to contribute. Kind of like how they contributed other covers to other benefit compilations in the 90s. Crazy Mary on one.
Yeah.
And then they did. I think I've Got a Feeling for the Gits tribute record that we mentioned, the Self Pollution Radio Show. And so I think it's a good choice for all those reasons, but also because of where they were. And I would argue that it was, for me, the first time that I'd felt that Ed was giving Jeremy music video vibes since that video. That's how stark that performance was. In overall intensity of that performance, half of which was acoustic, I don't think it hadn't been matched to my ears or my eyes since Unplugged.
Wow.
It was a very stark, very pointed, the way that Ed delivers those lyrics, I'll stand over your grave till you're dead, and then just silence. And it's like, oh my God, it's almost creepy the way that they perform that song. And it's so quiet in the first verse, and you can barely hear Mike kind of trying to pluck his 12-string guitar. Like, should I play anything? Like, Ed's got this covered. And all of a sudden the band all comes in. You're like, oh shit. And then you can hear boom on the keys. And like, it all just kind of finds its spots. And it reminds me of Ed with Mike and Neil Young performing Long Road on that Tibetan show back in like 93 or 92, something like that. Really early on. The way that everybody had a place in the mix, it just felt perfect for the moment. And so that's why I love 2004 Letterman. Masters of War.
Solid call. Yeah. I don't think I gave the devil its due on that one. Well,
another one I watched live and thinking at the time, holy shit. Like at first I was like, oh man, I played a Pearl Jam song. And then I was like, oh shit, this is dope.
Right. Yeah, it was a fantastic performance of that Bob Dylan song.
Top two.
Well, I mean, I got to go 92 to be in the top 2. So I'm going to go with Alive on BBC.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's just that, it starts with a close up on Stone's guitar, and we pan out and the band's grooving. You get if you took MTV Unplugged and you turn the lights on and Ed just turns his hat backwards, like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it had everything to me that Unplugged did in terms of intensity and just that chambered tension and latent passion on a sleeve type of a performance. It's literally vintage Pearl Jam at their peak at that time anyway. And this performance just rips. I mean, Mike is shredding, the band's hopping and stomping a hole through the floor. And I mean, this is the biggest band in the world. You know what I mean? And this is what it looks like. And this performance to me was what MTV Unplugged would have been if they just turned the lights on just a little bit more and they let him plug the guitars in. To me, this is what you would get. So this is as close to that atmosphere and spirit and bottle. If you could bottle MTV Unplugged and just plug it into an amp, like this is the performance that you're going to get. So
also, I wonder if this was maybe the first, and our European friends will know, the first proper mainstream media TV performance in the UK, in Europe, where if you hadn't have caught them on the club gigs those first couple of years, and you turn on BBC and you go, what's that? This could have been the first time you ever saw them.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
whoa.
I mean, mind blowing, I think.
Yeah. Well, my number 2 is the first time we're going to repeat something.
Oh boy.
My number 2 is the 93 VMAs.
Okay.
You talked about a lot of it, so I'll try and pick my spots here. I think after a year after that indelible performance of Jeremy, Pearl Jam was invited back to the VMAs, but this time there's a confidence about them. You were talking about a little bit, unleashing, if I may, Animal with a proper pit audience. This time, I think MTV realized they couldn't just put Pearl Jam on the main stage in front of the normies, right? That wasn't going to work. They needed to give them their own space. And Pearl Jam dominated that stage with a swagger, especially in front of a national audience we may not have ever seen. And it's just a roaring rendition of Animal. I mean, it's one of the most iconic performances of that song, maybe because of the context of it being on national TV and being like, oh my, we're all seeing this. This isn't like me happening going to the show. You have no clue what I'm talking about. We could have all seen this, And to top it off, as you mentioned, Rockin' in the Free World with Neil, that was confirmation that they had the seal of approval to mainstream music fans and to the underground music fans. These guys were real, they were authentic, and they were going to bring the goods on their own terms. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Boom. 2 banger.
No argument for me on that one.
So good. All right. Well, here we are. And I'm guessing we had the same thing.
I don't know, man. Let's find out. So I'm going SNL 94.
Okay.
Not For You, Daughter, and Rearview Mirror. It showcased the band's range. This is the band literally at the peak of their powers. I mean, they're coming off of the biggest rock album of the era, or one of, right? And they somehow managed to come out with this sophomore record that was as epic. You know what I mean? A lot of bands crumble under that weight, and they didn't. And then, they've got Not For You in here as well. And it's just between the range of the band with Daughter and Not For You and Rearview Mirror, where the band was at that time, the fact that they tore the theater down. Like, it's one of those few moments where they perform in a setting and it's like, I don't think this room can contain this sound right now. Like you get a sense that it's like that scene in Highlander where we're all like, there can be only one, and all the glass shatters everywhere. It's like,
what a reference.
I can just see that, Eddie screaming that is, there can be only one, and 5 against 1, I guess. I don't know. So, they just crushed it, this performance. Mike's just got these blistering guitar solos, Dave's pulse pounding, frenetic playing. I mean, Jeff and Stone just bouncing all over the place. Eddie's going crazy. I mean, it's just, it was Pearl Jam ascending to another level. They had already set a standard with 10 and all those amazing, epic, iconic performances. And here was Pearl Jam kind of growing into their own skin as a band sonically and saying, hey, we want a different sound for verses. We want something that's raw, that's rugged, that's organic. We don't want any reverb, and we make records to play live. And this is what we sound like live. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, it was, to me, I've used this term already, but it was another statement performance. But I think it was the type of performance that was less of trying to, how do you say this? It was less of a performance that was broadcasting this identity or this persona of a band that they had kind of were cultivating, I guess, with 10 and that whole tour. And it was more about them taking a step back and thinking methodically about who they want to be and what their music is about. And then going out on a national stage and, in this theater and saying, all right, let's bring these folks in with Daughter, and then let's just blow them out of here with these 2 next songs. And that's exactly what they did. So.
Well, I agree with you. 94,
oh boy.
SNL. I have a lot to say about this, so let's all settle in with our drinky drinks. So there's so many layers to this appearance for me. At this point, this is second week of April, 94. The world is reeling after Kurt's death just a week earlier. And of course, it had to be Pearl Jam, the yin to Nirvana's yang in some ways that was on that week, right? The sadness of a massive chapter of the book of rock seemingly ending. What would the next chapter hold? That was blanketing the entire show for me.
Yes, it was.
And how about the Stones on the band's part to play Not For You as the first and clearly most prominent performance of the night? You know, a song most of the audience had never heard as it wasn't on Versus, the most recent album. It wouldn't come out for another 7 months. Like, what is this song? It was very different to what mainstream music fans had heard from Pearl Jam to that point. And the irony, too, of playing Not For You on the shiny, as I mentioned before, the sheen of SNL, with all the suits watching, that was very evident to me as well.
Yeah.
Not to mention, again, as the first song performed of the three, and still an hour of programming to go, they play 5.5-minute version of this song. I can tell you, the producers were probably in that control room yelling, "End the damn song." And had to furiously scratch a sketch or two just to fill it and get the time, you know? I can imagine how maddening that would be. Next up, rearview mirror, right? First of all, a really cute moment between Mike and Dave A. Mike goes over to the drum riser early on in the performance, and there's a close-up of Ed singing, but you can look past him and see Dave, and he looks over to Mike, and he's smiling ear to ear as they make contact. And that, you know, knowing now that this was the second to last time they'd ever play together is a bittersweet moment. But that aside, I think Rearview Mirror was obviously, as it almost always is, tight and assured, and maybe even a little restrained. I mean, they couldn't really do their usual long, elongated bridge section.
Yeah.
But I will always wonder if they were thinking about other things during that particular performance, perhaps looking ahead, both within the show and their lives. And then finally, Daughter. Talked about Goosebumps before, and I still get Goosebumps to this day watching this. First of all, almost no one gets to play 3 songs in Saturday Night Live. Very rare.
Right.
And after Pearl Jam played 2 songs, both over 5 minutes, okay, the fact that Lorne Michaels was like, all right, green light, you can play a 3rd song. That says a lot about where Pearl Jam was in the zeitgeist, that he was like, I'm ready to axe more of my actual show to show more of Pearl Jam. I can think of U2 and the Rolling Stones as the only other bands to do that. Maybe Paul McCartney at some point. Being that it's the end of the show and the last chance to say something, as it were, Ed, always understanding the moment, he tags Daughter with these words. He goes, "Where I come from, nothing's given. Yeah, I resent nepotism. Now I paint with turpentine. I give such good paradigm." And then he pays some sort of an homage to Kurt by singing a line or two from Neil Young's Hey, Hey, My, which Kurt quoted, as we all know, in his suicide note.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, hey, my, rock and roll can never die. There's more to the picture than meets the eye. Hey, hey, my. And then he slowly kind of walks backwards out of the spotlight, looking like he wants to retreat, like into the shadows behind the amps and the drum kit. It is an incredibly powerful moment from a band and a singer forced into the spotlight over the previous 3 years, alongside Kurt and Nirvana. And it's a spotlight so bright, as we all know, that Kurt could not handle. And no one understood that better than Ed. And that was a moment. That was a moment I will never forget, and most rock fans will never forget. And to top it all off, again, at the very end of the show, Emilio Estevez is saying goodbye. And what does Ed do? Taps on the Sharpied K over his left breast on his olive drab t-shirt. Just a one last, I guess, silent thank you to his peer. So I would argue that the performance of this set of performances, that this whole appearance on SNL is as close in significance to Unplugged as they're ever going to get.
Yeah.
And
Couldn't
just
agree
so
more.
many things here that I just absolutely adore.
Yeah. Well said.
Very powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious what you guys out there have to say about Pearl Jam's TV performances. Do you have any honorable mentions, by the way? I have a couple things I'd like to just mention real quick.
I mean, every one of them is good. You know what I mean? I think the ones that you mentioned that I did not would probably qualify.
Mm. Okay. I really liked the first performance on Letterman in 96 with Hail Hail.
Mm.
It was the first time on Dave's show, and you could see how much of a fan, how thrilled Dave was, which I thought was really fun. And, there's some interesting fashion choices between Ed and his ill-fitting sport coat, and Stone looks like an orange popsicle. And, and Dave goes, "Hey, they're here sponsor free," which is a nice little nod to any of the hardcore fans who tried getting tickets at the tour. I would also say 2009 Austin City Limits was very, very cool. Very cool TV performance.
I didn't think that was really eligible though. Just
why
not? It was like a show to me, Austin City Limits. You know what I mean? Like Just Breathe off of that performance was beautiful. But I mean, I don't know. That wasn't one that I really considered.
Well, it's an honorable mention for me, but I would say for the price of admission was worth it just for Inside Job. I thought that performance was fantastic.
Yes, it was.
Amongst the Waves too, by the way. So what do you guys say out there? What are your top 5 Pearl Jam on TV performances, appearances? I'm doing this a lot, more gesticulating of these are parentheses. Someone should make a meme or a GIF and just make fun of me. I'm inviting you. Tell us what you think out there. Get in the Discord if you're a patron. Get on the comment section on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, whatever the hell it is, and let us know what you think. And do you think any of these are actually more important or better than Unplugged? Are we wrong? We could be.
We probably are.
That wouldn't be uncommon. All right. Well, we're going to return to the evolved lyrics section on this show called Lyrics to Live By. All right, this week, Lyrics to Live By, the Patreon members chose Backspacer as the album they want us to go to. Mm-hmm. And the song is Speed of Sound, Paul. I love this song.
Yeah, I love that number.
Let's get into some of what our fine patrons had to say about this one. I'll start here with Derek Lobb from Omaha. He says, so interesting that this comes on the heels of Unemployable, which is our Lyrics to Live By song last time.
Yeah.
For this exercise. He says, it's like the first-person perspective of Unemployable's, or to Unemployable's third-person narrative.
I like that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Matt Behan from New York says, Speed of Sound kept me sane after a tough, unfortunate job loss I encountered back in 2009. Really, the whole song I just played over and over and over again. It helped me tremendously. And by the way, he's good now. He's got a job. He's fine. But he mentions the lyrics. He wrote that in his thing. I'm not making that up. He said, yesterday is how quick they change, all lost and long gone now. So I like that he took a positive spin to those lyrics. What did Darren say, my friend?
Darren, I was going to go to Peter next, actually, but
go to Peter then. Go to Peter.
Well, I just thought it was interesting, Peter Sproul's making a similar personal connection. So he says, since my dad passed away in December, the song has gained yet another layer of meaning and connection for me. It's quite a metaphorical eulogy, which I thought was beautiful. He continues, says, another layer is to use it as a message to slow down while the world is flying by around you and find a space to reflect and take a break from the chaos and speed all around you, or a trigger to get up and live, like reverse psychology, as it shows you what can happen if you don't. So I thought that was just a nice messaging there in connection with this composition.
So Murph from SoCal, I actually don't know what city he lives in. I'm forgetting. Sorry, Murph. I'm forgetting. It's down by like Anaheim or something like that. I know I'm fucking it up. I'm sorry, Murph. Anyway, he says the song references the dark, and I've thought of this song as a song of reflection and mistakes, and how when you think you've learned from one, we are not out of the woods yet, and maybe we won't escape it entirely. My favorite line is this night has been a long one, waiting on the sun that just don't come. For me, the sun, the next day after a tough day prior, represents a new beginning. Maybe he will be haunted by something forever. Ooh.
Yeah. And I think that's the key there, is that even if the sun doesn't come, this song does this beautiful job of painting a portrait of that shadow remaining. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's no matter how many times the sun rises and falls, there's just a part of you that can't shake this.
Where should we go next?
Let's go Johnny Savole.
Right.
So he says he's talking about Backspacer and references Darren's point to the song's a real gem. But he just loves Eddie's performance. He says, to me, he's at his best when you can feel both the pain and hope in his voice. The piano on the song is just beautiful, lends a beautiful layer to the song. And I couldn't agree more. There's something about these little nuanced piano cameos throughout the catalog that, we wish we got more of it. You know what I mean? I've always been surprised that it hasn't been a more prominent musical feature in the band's music. I'm not saying like, Jethro Tull with a flute, like every song has to have it or something. But
yes, flute.
Yeah, exactly. But I do think that it wouldn't be shocking to me, nor would it feel untethered or out of place if, Pearl Jam released 3 more records and there was a piano on all 3. I mean, it just seems like a natural part of their music when they do it. So
2 thoughts on that. One, I think Ed would agree because if you recall, I believe it's a Matter of Time that the EBRP inspired song was, he taught himself how to play piano for that song. And then also, I think whenever they have had Brendan O'Brien produce records, he has been the one to find those great moments to drop in little piano things.
And it's great because Boom's on the road with him, right? I mean,
yeah.
That's great.
Rosemary from Ireland. Life is hard, but we hold on for the light while going through the dark night. It is about being stronger than we ever think we can be as we love fiercely, keeping on until the dawn. Ooh.
Always poetic.
Yeah.
Love Rosemary's takes.
Stip says,
oh, what does that guy know? What does that guy know?
What? It's like, he keeps chiming in and
Stip, why don't you write a book about it, huh? Exactly. Why don't you write a book about it one day?
Write a goddamn book. You can buy it now. Apparently it's arriving in homes.
It should be.
It should be. He says the lyrics are anxious and unsettled and grapple with inherent tension between the need to constantly be pushing forward and doing more, wanting to stop and savor what you have, and fearing that if you pause to take a breath, you can lose everything. There isn't release as much as there is just a piling on of more until it almost smothers itself.
Yeah, that's great. I love the first thing he said too, that it does what it does well is it takes it's such a quiet, introspective song, much like the demo, but it makes it a cacophonous. It makes it cacophonous without it being cathartic. It's true because that introspection, if it becomes this really cathartic song, that introspection gets swallowed up by that catharsis, and so it can have that beautiful depth to itself sonically without losing that introspection and that quietness to it. So,
yeah, and the mentioning the acoustic demo, which I think it was like the reward for figuring out some sort of like scavenger hunt online at some point.
Yeah.
Some people actually prefer the demo. I don't know that I prefer it, but I think it is very, very cool.
Yeah, I love both versions. They're very distinctly different, and that's what I appreciate about them.
Chris Saylor from the greater Atlanta area says, this feels like the first album where they're contending with the reality that they have more days behind them than in front. The Discord, the patrons were going off on at what point, what album the band kind of transitioned into this elder statesman, wise, adult version of themselves as opposed to the more angsty, reactionary, pissed off version. Yeah. And Backspacer might be the right era. And that's what he's pointing out here. He says, Speed of Sound exemplifies this perspective while also addressing the themes of time and mortality that pervade the record. The lyrics about how quickly it all passes set against a more contemplatively paced composition. We get an expression, not just lyrically but musically, of this friction between rushing towards an ever-elusive future while building an expanding past that we can't escape. Holy shit, Chris, write a book.
Yeah.
He says, to me, it speaks to the fact that you can't move on until you let go. And the reality that we never truly let go of anything, of grudges, of people, of our old selves. Wow. We carry our whole lives with us. We carry our whole lives with us at all times, and the only way to move forward is in the effort towards, rather than the success in, moving onward. Chris, write a book.
Great thoughts. Yeah, these are. It's one of my favorite parts about this segment is just hearing how reflective and insightful these takes on lyrics are. And when we say lyrics to live by, it's really about finding the humanity in these lyrics and trying to anchor them in something that feels real and relatable. And I could not be more grateful for the thoughts that all of our patrons share. And I think that adds so much to the discussion. You know, I go back to what we said back in the very first episode. Let's just continue the conversation, and it's becoming a conversation. And I really appreciate this feedback and the willingness of everyone to kind of take the time to do this. So.
We thank everybody for always participating in this challenge. And I will say to anybody who is not a patron, this is the tip of the iceberg. We might ask the fine folks to give us their opinions on these songs, but then afterwards, there's a whole thread that's like miles long that carries on with these conversations, and you get even more from everybody. And some people who didn't get a chance to write in, Bob, looking at you, Bob, quit making hot dogs. He knows what he did. There's more, and that's what I love about it. All right, so we need a new live cut. The people give us a couple of options here. So let's now go to our live cut of the week.
Ready to stand up!
All right, live cut of the week from the patrons. Paul, where and when are we going, sir?
You know what's fascinating about this is it's not often. I mean, granted, we haven't done this segment that many times, right? But it's not often where we get a live performance mentioned twice. I think this might be the first time, if I recall.
I think so.
That we've started this segment. We're like 5 or 6 songs into it now, where patron members actually. There's more than one that suggested the same live cut. So it's great. We're going to go with it. We're going to San Diego on November 21st, 2013.
Yesterday's how quick they change, lost and long gone now. It's hard to remember anything moving at the speed of sound, moving with the speed of sound. And I'm still holding tight to this dream of distant life, and that somehow I'll survive. But this night has been a long one, waiting on a word that just don't come. Can I forget what I can't forget and live a lie? I could give it one more try. Why didn't I just drive inside, just looking for some peace? Every time I get me storm, it gets the best of
So this performance, right down the road, close to you, I believe at the VA House Arena there on the SDSU campus. A great venue, an historic venue from Pearl Jam perspective. They played there a number of times. Early days, middle days. I think I saw them there in 2006 on my birthday, actually, which is actually the show that Ed told the Clayton Liggett story, which is the Long Road story. But anyway, in 2013, it's a very, I would say the performance is, not only is it tight, which for a song that's only been played 7 times ever, which 7 times. Since 2009, 7 times. I've missed it personally, haven't caught it. When I walked by Wrigley last summer and I heard it being played at soundcheck, I go, could this be it? And it was not it. Eddie teased me.
But you heard it at soundcheck, so it kind of counts. I don't know.
I can't take it off though. I can't take it off the box. But anyway, this performance was it was measured, but it was it was everything that you would want it to be based on what we just heard from the patrons. It was tight, but it felt intimate, but it also felt big enough to where everything could breathe. It also felt immediate, and there wasn't a wrong note hit. And I thought it was just a very lovely performance of a very lovely song. And these are the kind of songs that you can get messed up. I think it's maybe one of the reasons why they don't play it very much is because it is a waltz, a 3/4 time signature, and the way that Ed is playing the acoustic, it's a plucking Spanishy kind of thing. It's not easy to get that kind of in sync. Sort of why it's hard for them. I think why Ed has an issue with playing "Got to Give." I want to say, but I could be wrong. So to hear it played so well is lovely, and Ed's got a soft spot in his heart for San Diego for obvious reasons. So I liked it.
Could not agree more.
Well, there you go, gang. We appreciate you stopping by. And if you are new around here, around these parts, please go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications. If you're listening to us, please go ahead and...
They should rate, they should review, they should subscribe on their preferred podcast platform of choice. Feed that algorithm. It needs you on the Ides of March.
Okay. And that's all I can say. Okay. I mentioned them multiple times in the last about 10 minutes or so. The patrons, we love them. And if you'd like to join this wonderful gang of people and contribute to the conversation, please go ahead and sign up. You could be entered into win one of these guys.
Yeah.
The old dog leash. I'd show you the real guy, but it's on the floor.
My stickers. It's on the floor with my stickers.
So that is our Patreon giveaway item for March of 2025. And if you are in the giving mood, you can go ahead and give to our fundraiser of the month. That is for the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. They do great stuff to get rid of those 2 disgusting, awful, painful diseases. We want them out of our lives. We know Mike McCready agrees, and he would really appreciate it, I have to assume, if you would go ahead and scan that QR code, donate a few bucks. And if you do, we will send you stickers and a pin.
Yeah.
As a thank you. Here they are. I think Paul's out of all of them. Oh, he's got one.
No.
There it is. If you donate the most money, you're getting this. You're getting the 92 performance of SNL Alive and Porch on a 45 compliments of our friends at Easy Street Records. There it is. This is the one. There it is, Paul. Oh, and support the show by buying stuff. That's how we stay in business, my friends.
But
by business,
you could
I
also
mean,
just feed the algorithm so we can continue the conversation. How about that?
The more people that watch, the more people join the conversation, the more robust the conversation is, and the community grows, and that's what we're all about. That was literally the ethos since day one.
And will continue to be through day X. I don't know.
Ooh. We don't, no, please don't. Now I think about Elon Musk, and we can't do that. We don't want to end on a sour note.
Fair enough.
On day Q. Oh, shit, now QAnon. Fuck. Oh, what letter can we use, Paul? It's all going downhill. Tell us what letter we should use.
Yeah.
Next week. We'll see it. Hey, we're closing in on a number that is a special number. Next week isn't that number. Next week is episode 249. And joining us will be a gentleman who has worked on more Pearl Jam music than probably most people. That man is awesome, and you'll see him or listen to him next week. And until you do, you've been listening to or watching
The State of Love and Trust.